and welcome to episode 16 of The Smallest Thing. I'm Lisa Manterfield. This week, I'm celebrating. Today marks the 3rd anniversary of the publication of The Smallest Thing. Stay tuned for celebration details and your chance for some book birthday presents, as well as my answer to the question, when the heck is the next book coming out? But first, Em finds herself in hot water with her dad in this week's episode of The Smallest Thing. Welcome to the serialized audiobook, The Smallest Thing, written by Lisa Manterfield, read for you by Charlie Sanderson.
Chapter 16, Monday, August the 8th. Dad is out in the village again today, and I'm tempted to go looking for him. I don't want to be alone in the house, but everything is changing so quickly that home now feels like the only safe place. For the first time in a very, very long time, I really wish my dad were here. I get my wish a short time later, but it's not quite what I had in mind. Dad slams the front door behind him and pushes out a sharp breath, like an athlete preparing to deadlift twice his body weight. His keys hit the table in the hallway before clattering to the floor. I don't have to be an ace sleuth to know he's in a foul mood, but I creep to the top of the stairs anyway. A floorboard creaks beneath my foot and Dad looks up. His face contorts and he stomps toward me, an angry finger punctuating the air in front of him. You! The word hisses through his teeth. You! He slides to a halt, both hands raised in front of him, fingers splayed like he wants to grab something and crush it with his anger. You! He says again, his voice rising. What have I done? I ask, backing away. I've been the model of good behaviour for days now, and I have no clue what I could have done to stir up his anger. Still, my mind flits immediately to Aidan. Guilt by imagination? Even though Dad has never laid a finger on me in my life, at this moment, his track record isn't enough to convince me he won't hurt me. His face is red with fury, his eyes slashed to narrow, steely slits. His brow seems to have folded over his eyes and cast his face into a dark shadow. I've only ever seen one on TV, but everything about him makes me think about tornadoes. And this dark, swirling entity looks as if it's about to knock me off my foundation. He's so mad he can't even speak, and he shakes as if every ounce of his strength is being used to stop him from hurling himself up the stairs and pounding me into pulp. Roland Torrey, he yells. Roland fucking Torrey! My eyes sting with tears. Dad has never, ever sworn at me. Never. This is an unfamiliar animal tearing toward me, and I'm scared of what he might do. When did you see him? Dad yells. When? I haven't seen him, I squeak, backing away from him. I try to wrap his question around what I think he knows, but nothing fits. I haven't done anything wrong, I cry, but even as I say it, I know that's not true. I've done everything wrong. Everything. I shouldn't have tried to escape, and I shouldn't have trusted Ro. That's a lie, he spits. How could I see him when I'm stuck in this stupid prison? I scream. I'm beyond defending myself to Dad. I'm defending myself to myself. I try to grasp onto a single emotion, a single regret, but there are too many. I'm angry at Dad, at myself, at Ro, and especially at Mum. I wish she were here, though. She'd step between us and calm him down, and make us talk to one another like civilised human beings. But Mum isn't even in the village, let alone in the house. Then why did you put on your survey that you... He sucks in a breath, as if choking down the words, but he can't hold them in. You had sex with him. What? The heat of humiliation gushes up inside me so fast that for a moment I think I might black out. That survey was supposed to be confidential. How did my most intimate secrets make it to my father? And who else knows? My thoughts flit again to Aidan. Could I have misjudged him so badly? Or is it just the village grapevine, still hard at work? Mrs. Glover. It has to be Mrs. Glover and her interfering nose. How could you know that? So you're not denying it? Who told you? Everybody told me, Emmett. He screams. Roland Torrey's been quarantined because of level 4 interaction with someone in this village. And you're jumping to the conclusion that it was me? No, he says, his shoulders sagging. I jumped to the conclusion that it couldn't be you. I foolishly believed that my daughter had more sense than to waste her time on anyone in that thieving bloody family. But no, turns out not to be the case. My insides twist, as if they're trying to wring the shame out of me. Everything about this situation is upside down. Sex is something dads aren't supposed to ever know about, or if they do, they're supposed to pretend they don't. But now my dad is confronting me about something I wish had never happened. He looks up at me, and my heart shatters into a million pieces. How can I tell my father something I can no longer explain to myself? That I loved Ro and he let me down. That there was nothing wrong with what I did. That, yeah, it might have been a poor choice, but it shouldn't have been a life-altering error. Not for Ro, and not for me. Yeah, well, that was before all this. I didn't break the quarantine and I'm not seeing him anymore. No, now you're hanging around with that Red Cross fellow. I don't understand you, Emmett. I don't know where this constant urge to do the wrong thing comes from. This man below me used to be my dad. But I no longer know him, and it's evident he doesn't know me. No wonder Mum was so anxious to get away. Well, maybe if you didn't have so many rules, I'd do better at not breaking them. No wonder Mum always wants to get away. My regret is instant. Dad seems to freeze in space, but not in time. In a matter of a blink, I see history spooling backward across his face, sticking barbs into wounds that have scabbed but not healed, taking him all the way back to the point he was first betrayed. I can't watch any longer. I twist away and run to my room, slamming the door behind me. I hurl myself onto my bed, flinging Pandacorn across the room and out of my sight, and I cry. Great sobs of humiliation and indignation, because there is nothing else left for me to do. I lie in the indentation in the middle of my bed and stare at the ceiling. When my text alert pings, I grab my phone, anxious for some relief and hoping it's Deb or Aidan. But it's neither. It's Mum. No doubt Dad has alerted her, making sure to share his side of the story before she can hear mine. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I push the phone aside. She is the last person I want to talk to. Well, second to last, after Dad. Mum should have been here. She should be the one asking me about Ro, not Dad, not the person voted least likely to understand. I glance at my phone. Are you okay? No, Mum, I want to write. I am very, very far from okay. I'm fine, I type, so that she knows I'm still alive. I owe her that, I suppose. My phone rings and I see it's her, but I don't want to talk yet. I send the call to voicemail with a text that I can't talk now. I'm worried about you, she texts back. Don't be, I write. I'm fine. But I am not fine, and my mother has a hand in my not fineness. If I talk to her now, I might not stop talking ever. Better to say nothing until I'm sure I can say the right thing, whatever the right thing might be. I don't know what to do. I feel like one of those tigers you hear about in the zoo, pacing its cage around and around in the same pattern day after day after day. If I don't get out of here soon, I swear I am going to eat my keeper. But there is no out of here, and the here just keeps getting worse. I reach for my phone and scroll through to Ro. I need to know where he is, if he's being brought inside our quarantine or placed on lockdown at home. It doesn't change anything. He's still being quarantined, and it's still because of me. I keep telling myself this quarantine is precautionary and that Ro has nothing to worry about because I haven't contracted the virus, so it's unlikely he will. Unless I'm an unwitting carrier. I should warn him. But what good would it do? I can't undo what's done, and there's no chance we'll be in physical contact again as long as I'm on this side of the quarantine, or ever, for that matter. Finally, my guilt gets the better of me. No matter what has happened between us, I did love Ro, and I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I text him to see if he's okay, but he doesn't answer. Maybe they've taken away his phone in the quarantine, I think. But more likely he doesn't want to talk to me. I try to imagine the series of events between my survey confession and Dad's tirade. Did Dr. Reynolds read my answers, march over to Rose and drag him from his bed? That sounds a bit dramatic. And what about his family? Are they quarantined too? And do they blame me for this? It's not my fault, but for a brief instant, I'm glad I'm on the opposite side of the cordon from Will and his shotgun. And how did word make its way to Dad? I don't need to ask. It travels the way news always travels around here, person by person, whisper by whisper, until everyone knows some version of the truth. I used to say that around here, gossip spreads faster than the plague, but that analogy is no longer funny. I sink back into my bed and close my eyes. So, now everyone knows the most intimate details of my life. I'm branded. Instead of going about my day carrying a personal secret, something shared between two people, I'm now the girl who spread the virus because she couldn't keep her knees together. I may as well pin a scarlet letter to my chest, I for infectious, and stick my head in the stocks. Downstairs, Dad is talking to someone. It's a one-sided conversation. A phone call. No doubt he's on the phone with Mum again, discussing what to do with their mess of a daughter. I can't help but think they ought to be talking about their mess of a marriage instead. It feels like hours later when I hear a rap on my door. It's a gentle tap, but I can't be sure it's friendly, and I'm not ready to face another bout of the wrath of Dad. Still, I say, "Come in," just loud enough for him to hear. He pushes open the door with one elbow. He has a mug of tea in each hand with a plate of bread and jam balanced on top. He sets a mug down on my bedside table and keeps the other for himself. If he were Mum, he would perch on the edge of my bed to talk, but instead he pulls up a chair and sits in the middle of my room, looking awkward. "You must be hungry," he says. I'm starving, but I shrug, not yet ready to accept his peace offering. "I'm sorry I swore at you," he mumbles. "I shouldn't have done that." "It's okay," I whisper. "I'm sorry I said what I said too." He nods. "Your mum and I, we've had some problems in the past, but she'd never leave you, Emmett, not intentionally." "But she did," I say, taking my tea and curling my legs under one another. "No," Dad says. "She just picked the wrong time to go on holiday. Or rather, we picked the wrong time not to go." His face twitches into an attempted smile, and the anger I've been lugging around with me deflates. He's right, of course. But I needed to be angry about the photos I found, and Mum was the ideal target. "So you and Mum are okay?" I ask. "Yes, but..." Dad seems to be searching for a way to break bad news, and I find myself bracing for the impact. Your mum and Alice have been quarantined as well." "What? Why?" "They can't do this to Alice. My little sister is nowhere near the village. She's completely out of danger. Am I responsible for sending the danger with her too? Because of me?" "No," he says. "Because they were here in the village, in direct contact with us right before the outbreak. They've been taken to a special facility for observation. Now the surveys are out, lots of people have been taken in. Mum says it's just precautionary and they're fine. She doesn't want us to worry." "Right." I struggle and fail to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. I'll just get right on with that not worrying business. I twist precautionary around in my mind until it no longer feels like a government buzzword for trouble and instead feels like an overzealous concern. Aidan's map flashes across my mind, the blotches blooming and spreading. An imaginary vine of danger sprouts from our village all the way to Auntie Margie's and the 2 red blossoms of my mum and sister. I shake the image away. I can't let myself imagine Alice in danger, and if I'm really honest with myself, I don't want to imagine that for Mum either. Dad inches up from his chair as if he's about to come toward me, but he sits back down. He twitches again, as if battling with himself over what to do next. Finally, he sighs. If your mum were here, she'd handle all this better than I am. I don't think anybody knows how to handle this, Dad. No, but she'd do a better job with you. I don't say anything, because it would be a giant fib to tell Dad he's doing a good job, but Mum will hardly be up for Mother of the Year either. The thing is, he says, concentrating hard on his tea, you're not my little girl anymore. You haven't been for a long time, and I'm not sure what to do. I don't think there's anything you can do, Dad. It's sort of the way things go. You know what I mean. When you were little, my job was to keep an eye on you, point you in the right direction, keep you safe. I knew how to do that. But now they tell me I'm supposed to let you go and trust I did a good job, trust I'll do the right thing. And I don't know how to do that bit. And just when I think I'm ready, this happens. And I can't protect you anymore. That's not your job. I have to look after myself. He shakes his head. I never wanted you to go to London. I was terrified in case something happened to you, and I wouldn't be there to do anything about it. That's silly. Maybe. But when you were born, I promised your grandma I wouldn't let you go off alone. Like Auntie Sandra. He nods. But as you got older, I could see San in you. You were so much like her, that streak. She couldn't wait to get away, to be anywhere else but here. I smile. She was itchy. Yes, that's what she used to say, itchy. But the irony is that keeping you here has put you in more danger than I could have ever imagined. I don't think anyone could have imagined this, Dad. No. So now we just have to look after each other. We all have to look after one another. I think about the graph Aidan showed me. About the others, Dad. I know you want to help everyone, but the more people you come into contact with, the greater your chances of being infected. He narrows his eyes at me. Has that Red Cross chap been telling you that? Yes, I say. And he's right. They come in here and start ordering us around. Because they actually know what they're talking about, Dad. They're the ones who've done this before. But they don't know our village. Dad, you can't go out helping everyone like you used to. What if you catch it? I'm not going to catch it. What if you do? Emmett, he says. These people are our friends. I've known some of them my whole life. I know that, I say. But it's not your job to take care of them. No, that's beyond my capabilities now, but it is my job to care about them. We're all in this together, and if we don't have each other, what have we got? His voice cracks. This is killing our village. I can't stand it. I push up from my bed and go to put my arms around him, but he pushes me away. Don't, Em, he says. The protocol. Bugger the protocol, I say. Emmett, bugger the virus too, and twice on Sundays. I wrap my arms around my dad and rest my head on the top of his. He smells clean and antiseptic, like manly shampoo, and the curls of his hair tickle the end of my nose. I feel the muscles in his shoulders from all that digging and planting, and a faint aroma of blackberry jam. He reaches up and rests his hand on mine. The sensation of his touch jolts through me like a warm electric buzz. I need my daddy's hug, and I sense that he needs mine too. If anything happened to you, he says, it's not going to, but if it did, We have to stick together. He nods, his curls tickling my ear where my head still rests against his. Neither of us says another word as we hold each other. I don't know what he's thinking, but I know what's in my head. I don't want to lose him either, and I don't want him to lose me. But I can't tear my mind away from one thing. The image of the virus and how quickly it can spread. Dad, I ask, can I ask you a favour? He pulls away, giving me a look as if I'm about to sucker him into adopting a puppy. What sort of favour? Just for now, what if you stopped going out to check on people? What if you just phoned or texted or put notes under their doors instead? I can't, he says, looking away from me. They need me. His words twist in my stomach, and I wonder if he can even hear what he's saying. I need you, Dad, I tell him. And the truth stings me. I do need him, because he's more or less all I have now. Dad turns and looks at me, as if all this time he hadn't realised I was there. You don't need me, he says. That's the trouble. You haven't needed me for a long time. I almost smile. He was paying attention after all. Maybe not, but I do sort of want to keep you around. Thank you, he says. But some of our neighbours are not as strong as you. They need me now, and I can't let them down. I know. I'm all too familiar with the concept of being let down. And the truth is, Dad continues, I need them too. I know you don't think that's big or important, but I'm completely helpless, and it's the only thing I know how to do. Something inside me bends and snaps, the frayed ends reaching out and touching something unfamiliar. It's the part of me that understands my dad. I've always seen him as a big fish in a small pond, someone wasting his life on the trivial and mundane. But I know what it feels like to long for something you can't explain to others, and I know now that all these years, that's what Dad's been doing. Not taking care of others' needs, but taking care of his own. Then I need you to be careful, I say. Dad rolls his eyes, and I see why Mum hates it so much. You promise? I ask. Dad holds out his little finger like he used to when I was a little girl. My lips twitch into a smile and I curl my little finger around his. Promise, we say together.
Welcome back. It's been 3 years since The Smallest Thing was first published. I never would have believed back then that we would be living our own version of that story now. But to celebrate Em's birthday, I want to give away some birthday presents. 3 winners will have a choice of one of the following birthday gifts: a signed paperback copy of either The Smallest Thing or my first novel, A Strange Companion. There are also ebook copies available if you don't want a hard copy, and also an audiobook copy of The Smallest Thing. So 3 winners will get to choose one of those prizes. So if you want to enter, go to my website, lisamanterfield.com, and click on the blog in the menu. You'll see a birthday post at the top of the page. All you have to do is leave a comment on that post. You can say hello, say something nice, or just tell me you want a present. You have until July 31st to enter. I'll announce the 3 winners on August 1st. You can also find a link to the post in the show notes from this week. If you've been following along with me since my first novel, A Strange Companion, was published, you might be starting to wonder why it's taking so long for a new book to be announced. So here's what's going on. A Strange Companion and The Smallest Thing were published through my own publishing company, Steel Rose Press. But for my next book, I decided to take a different route and seek out a bigger publisher. This is a long, slow process, made slower by the events of this year. I finished the book in April last year, found an agent, signed with her in November, and was just ready to submit to editors at publishing houses when COVID happened and everything ground to a halt. so Abby and her story are still waiting. Meanwhile, I've been working on another book, a historical novel set in World War II England, and I'm practicing my patience. As soon as I have news to share, I promise you I will. So for now, grab yourself a birthday present, click on the link in the show notes, leave a comment by July 31st. Good luck, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Smallest Thing. To make sure you don't miss next week's episode, you can subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. If you'd like to support the show, please leave a review and share this series with others you think might enjoy it. If you're on Instagram, tag me there at LisaManterfield_, or follow me on Facebook at author Lisa Manterfield and Twitter at Lisa Manterfield. My newsletter subscribers are always the first to know about my news, events, upcoming releases, giveaways, and more. Sign up for monthly delivery at lisamanterfield.com/subscribe and get your complimentary copy of Love, Loss and Letting Go, 3 of my short stories. Thanks to Justin Joseph for producing and editing this show, and to Ketzer.uk for the music. That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening.